people stuff that I learned is probably one of the most significant things that I could carry forward. Came back, did my master's, and a very good thing for any of you that's in the academics is you are speaking to people all day long. That is probably, for any career you want to follow, except if you want to be desk-bound, the most important skill that you're going to have. Now, I think often, unfortunately, we are clever people in this room, scientists. You know, as scientists, typically we think we can understand everything and we can analyze it and say, well, I know this person is this personality, so if I do A, then B is the response and I have success. I think one of the first things you've got to realize is that because you are good with science, more than likely you are not so good with the EQ stuff. And it's almost like when you go to the AA because of being an alcoholic or into an institution for needing some psychological rehab. The first thing to know and realize is that there's a lot of people that's a lot better with the EQ stuff than what you are. Because you don't realize you're not going to work on it. Very, very important. So if you have an opportunity to learn that skills better, guys, put your head down, do it. But please, as a scientist, I should perhaps fast forward a bit and tell the rest of my story before you guys understand the context. But anyway, university, I learned a lot about that. After that, I entered the corporate world. I was an analyst and data scientist and demand planner at TFG in the finance sector. After that, Coca-Cola, I now went to ABSA, which was still Barclays Africa at that time, where I was in the analytics game, working with lots of data. Eventually, within ABSA, I looked at some career progression. Eventually, I looked after the retail and business banking analytics team. I had a team there of about 40 people, owned a budget of 40 million, 50 million that was given to me by the retail and business banking divisions. Obviously, I didn't sell analytics to external clients. You don't go to a bank to get analytics. I sold services, analytical services back to the retail and business organizations to help them drive their business and sell products to retail and business clients, as the name suggests. And it was there that I realized, because in the past, last step of my career was then moved to Cape Town. I've got two lovely boys and a wife, and we wanted to be in Cape Town, and the traveling up to Johannesburg came a bit much for me. So I decided to leave that, and I joined a small startup firm called BroadReach Healthcare, where in the bank I tried to understand people and predict whether someone tomorrow is going to need a home loan or drop off of a transactional product and forecast volumes of things and so on. What I'm doing now is try and predict and forecast whether someone is possibly going to leave an HIV program. And I think this room sort of knows what happens if you do that. So if we can proactively understand that a patient is sitting with a dilemma of dropping off of medicine, not able to get medicine at a facility at a certain time, we can proactively go and do something about that with a relationship, pick up the phone, call the patient, and probe. Because unfortunately, one of the issues we've got here is that you call someone and say, how's it, we just want to check whether you're going to come and get your medicine. That tells you, well, yes, of course I am. Well, what are you bothering me for? And just get a hunch with the data that we're looking at that this person might, and the person is a bit pissed off, and then that relationship is a bit sour. But in the balance of things, we're hoping that we are able to actually keep more people on the program, looking at the numbers wise, and that's why we do it, and we change our strategy. So, why is that important to you? I want to emphasize just a little bit. In the last 3 years, I've probably looked at 2,000 to 3,000 CVs. Now, you guys are sitting here trying to think what to put in a CV, and I've done probably 1,000 interviews, so that's about an interview every single day, and it's not an over-exaggeration. That's the rest of my last 3 years, I had to build teams up, which means a lot of people engagement in trying to fill positions and structure a team according to what I need there. And for you guys that are now sitting here thinking what the future holds, I heard questions about what an employer looks like, what do you think about a PhD versus a master's. I just want to kind of put myself out there to say I think I'm a little bit qualified to speak about it because of recent experience, what I look for and what I don't look for in these things, so we can have a discussion about that. But formally, I think we just need to work through a couple of slides here. What is BroadReach? We are an organization that started off specifically in the HIV healthcare strengthening space, and that is the BroadReach Healthcare that you see as the first circle that makes part of the group. But then after doing this for about 10 years, we realized that to provide information back to our donors, because how the game works, the health strengthening game works, the big funders in the world, they give a lot of money and they say, please go and execute on this task. versus in the private sector, we've all alluded to, someone is paying your paycheck and you need to deliver a result, and if you don't deliver the result, they don't pay you. The healthcare strengthening donor world works. Here's a lot of money, I want you to execute on these metrics, and if you don't do it, we don't renew the funding. It's a little bit different. To be able to do those metrics, and consider how the public health system works in South Africa, DOH, and the paper-based stuff that happens in clinics, to try and collate the information to tell a USAID or a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that actually we are doing our job, this is how many people we're testing, this is how many people are on treatment, all that stuff, sometimes had a 3-month turnaround time. Now I can imagine the amount of admin costs that goes into trying to do that turnaround. Massive, massive amounts of money, and at the end of the day, if you're looking at the millions of rands that actually gets thrown at the problem, a big chunk of that thing is just to try and report back to the funder that you're doing your job, instead of actually doing what they want you to do, test people and try and eradicate the disease. Our founders, this happened way before I was there, was wise enough to realize that there's solutions in technology and in data sciences as a broader term to solve this thing, and they started BroadReach Consulting, and they built a software and technology platform called Vantage, which actually consolidates a lot of the data and now in real time captures data out of the clinics, built a couple of apps for the nurses, which they can use while they're testing someone. They can load their, did this right now, tested someone, the information feeds back, and our turnaround back to the donors are like a week or two. It won't be done and dusted now. A lot of operational costs cut out of the system, and because of that, they've started building up a lot of data, and then they said, cool, Paul, please come and join us and help us do forecasting and predictions and do some other cool stuff with the data assets that we've built up now. All right. Today, until what time have I got? Half past? 6 minutes, less than that. Okay, cool. I want to chat about data science, what it is, data products, just briefly, because everybody wants to speak data science, and I want to try to just emphasize what it is. And then finally, perhaps just look at a couple of examples. It's going to be very quick, and then we can chat the rest in the slides. So this, in my view, is the first data scientist that ever existed. It was a dude that had to walk somewhere and go and look at the enemy's fort or space, had to go and collect data, had to hide somewhere in the bush and check what's going on, data collection. Then he had to take that data and do some inference on it. All right? And you say, well, I see a big wall, I see where the holes are, whatever the case is, and he had to go and do the report. Well, I think he had to actually make the decisions himself as well, to say, well, listen, the best place to attack is through there or there, whatever the case it is, and then he had to go and report back to his king or lieutenant or the chief, whatever the case it was, and say, this is the action we need to take. That is why this is the first, and it's so simple and practical, and everybody thinks, geez, is that what data science is? It is, except in Absal we saw 130 million transactions a month. So using Excel doesn't really work for that. And that is where the whole data science thing comes in, because collecting that data is not looking at a castle anymore. It's churning through data, and that simply means if you do not know code, do not know SQL, then don't send your CV in for a data science position. That's the fundamental start of it. We can chat about the details later, but I do see CVs. If you cannot speak with data, you cannot do data science. Full stop. And the rest of it also comes forecasting, prediction, and so on. That's just the start of it. All right. This is just a quick one to show how statistics is actually the formal science of data science. But the guys in computer science and mathematics typically has also a lot of experience in it because of the fact that they're working with numbers a lot in a digital format and having to build models, which is fundamentally what data science is. And he said that though some of the best data scientists that I've ever met was masters and PhD students who had to hack their way through their own research and wasn't formally taught, this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. It was actually they've got experience. And if I interview them and I say, cool, how do I build a forecasting model? Then they say, well, in my master's or PhD, I had to try and extrapolate this plant thing or story about virology or whatever the case is. And actually, they've done the whole data science thing, what I just said. Collected the data, churned through it, built the model, did inference, and built a report on it. That's data science. As simple as that, because of that, they are brilliant and they can step into any environment I've got and they can start delivering results. All right, simple as that experience. The 4 spaces, and it goes a little bit to interviewing people as well. that I look for when from a technical perspective, I look at a data scientist or an analyst or whatever you want to call it. It's first and foremost understanding the business. Now, if you go for an interview and you're struggling to understand what the company is doing, then you're probably going to look like you're not interested. Because we can't figure that out. If you apply to apps or BroadReach, I said, so cool, what does BroadReach do? And you're like, I don't know, a friend of mine said you guys have got a vacancy, so I'm popping my CV through. And it's like, okay, well, cool, I actually don't want to waste an hour on you. Don't you think it's fair? It's like if I go on a date with you, you say, what is my surname? You know, or what am I interested in? You get what I'm saying. Just looks like you don't care. So don't do that. Second thing, maths and stats, I think you guys get that. I said the story and I can't emphasize it enough. Go and check what your limits of Excel is, because everybody that can use Excel thinks they're an analyst. And they can do this thing. Okay? Go and check how quickly Excel runs out of steam. It's a brilliant tool, don't get me wrong. But you can't handle big data. And then the final thing, communication skills, visualization skills, storytelling. So many people goes into an exco meeting, half an hour with the executive that's got 16 meetings a day in his 8 hours, and they think they're going to start with this end result. I'm a scientist, I know numbers, I know my thing, here it is. And that oak is actually busy thinking about the budget that he's going to sign off, he's thinking about firing someone in his team and the $2 million law case that's going to follow the CCMA. He's not with you. So if you cannot tell a story and actually pull them in and just get them with you, and then take them to the journey and actually tell the story. I mean, this is so important, guys. My team literally goes and looks how Hollywood tells stories. Drama and a bit of effect and all that stuff, because otherwise the exco guys don't get it. They switch off and they're not with you. Very, very important. Cool, thanks, mate. Those 4 things here translates into 6 fundamental stuff here. You can find this on the internet as well. This is how I try and build my data team. So if I look at growing a team member, I will sit with them and say, cool, you are strong at big data and the technology stack, but actually you don't know how to tell a story. Or you're great with interpersonal stuff, but you can't do maths and stats. So how do we grow that? And perhaps that's another tip. You're never going to be everything. Understand what you're good at and surround you with people that can do the rest of the thing. That's how I build my teams up. In the beginning it's easy, you just point whether you want to, but then you get to a point where you start realizing you need critical bits, and then you're much more specific on what you get into this place. Data products. And I'll end with this. How much time I've got? 30 seconds. A minute. So I suppose the most important thing that you realize in data science, everybody thinks it's forecasting, or no, not even forecasting. AI machine learning. That's what data science is. That's what I've got to be able to do. 90% of the value that you put down with data is very simple metrics. Descriptive stats, for those of you that have written research papers, because it tells a massive story. If we think about, if we want to know what's going on in the economy, the budget speech was just out. Things are not looking too rosy. We don't say, what is the ML and AI stuff looking and whatever the case. It's just like, okay, well, how much did the agricultural sector do? Is there going to be jobs next year? What was the job last year? You know, just simple stuff like that. And that sits here in the first bit of it. Just raw data, guys. There's a company called Google. Who's heard of them? They openly say we are not what we are because we've got good algorithms. In the media, there's a lot of hoo-ha about, you know, they're doing this and the hit thing and whatever the case it is. But actually, the thing they're selling the most is Google search, which is a simple, relatively simple predictive model. But the reason why they can do that is because they have tons of data. Every single time you search something, they predict something in the background, they check whether you clicked on what they predicted or not, and that makes them all stronger. Just good data management, which sits here on this side. All right? The rest of the stuff, algorithms, the simple thing is just a formula, decision support, that is metrics, KPIs, just a dashboard. And the amount of money, to give you an idea, at APSA, there was 80 people trying to do dashboarding and MI stuff, and only 40 of us in analytics, and only 15 of 10 of them sitting in data science. Most values sits not with the sexy AI ML stuff. That's what you read about in the media. A lot of time by folks that don't know what it actually is. But the key thing is, the takeout is, you've got to be able to work with data. And from there onwards, everything else will follow. I think I'm out of time. Cool, guys. Thanks.